Okay, I just want to let you know today about the fact that when you're improving a performance, often it's only little changes that need to be made for a performance to be improved. So small changes can fix most errors. You know, we all know that each of us have areas of our surfing that need to be improved. Many of these areas can be rectified by minor modifications to a performance. And normally, if you fix one issue, it usually fixes a number of other issues at the same time. So some of the errors that can be improved just by changing things slightly are poor lifting of the arms to generate speed and to climb late sections, poor compression at the start of forehand bottom turns, backhand bottom turns and cutbacks, insufficient turning of the head before impact with the lip or foam, poor centering at the end of manoeuvres are just little things that you can modify and they'll have positive implications with your performance. Okay, the first example here is where this person takes off and they decide to turn across the wave to start the ride. You can see they get to their feet, they straighten their body, but you can see that this front arm here stays low. And so what that does, that means that the straightening of the body, the creation of horizontal speed this way is not as positive or as strong as it could be because that front arm doesn't lift up. Here's the same surfer after some instruction, getting to their feet, straighten their body, and you can see the arm lifts up, front arm lifts up, and because of that, you can see the board also jump up in an effective way. So when we see the board jump up like this, it means that it's actually generating speed and he's achieved more speed because the arm is lifted. When we have a look at it together, you can see that as the surfer takes off, you can see they straighten their body. The inferior performance is where on the left-hand side where the arm doesn't lift up. The more correct performance is on the right where the arm does lift up, and you can see the board lifts more effectively, therefore creating more effective horizontal acceleration because the arm is used. So just that little change can make a significant difference to performance. Another time when the arms need to be used is when you come off the bottom and you've got to climb a section that's already broken. You can see here, in this case, the surfer turns their head and arms just like a normal re-entry, but in this case they needed to create height, didn't create their height, and therefore got caught on the way back down. When we have a look at a maneuver, a skill where the surfer does come up and they do climb a late section successfully, the difference here is that they come off the bottom and lift or throw both arms above their head, and that helps them create or climb the section in an effective and successful way. So the change the surfer needed to make here was to make the decision they're faced with a late re-entry, what I call a late re-entry, and instead of doing a twisting action, they do a lifting action with the arms, and that little change will give them a much stronger and more committed surfing approach with confidence. Another area of performance where a lot of people can improve their performance dramatically is to have more compression off the bottom. And we see here the surfer comes down, does a nice bottom turn, but you also see that their body's quite straight, so they are going to be able to sum the forces from their body as well as if they were more compressed. When we have a look at a model here of a better way of doing, you see the surfer comes down and really bends their body so they get more compression, Therefore, they get more ability to create power off the bottom. When we have a look at it together, it becomes obvious that the difference here is the difference in the compression. Surfer on the left, if they compress more, they'll have a better bottom turn and therefore a more powerful top turn because of it. Another area of performance is when doing backhand re-entries or backhand vertical maneuvers, that a surfer who looks down the line as they're doing the turn tend to get caught off the top. The little change that needs to be made is where they come off the top if they're going vertical and they need to look directly to the bottom. So the little change that needs to be made is, instead of looking down the line, the surfer should be looking straight down, just like this surfer here, straight down. And that little change from here to here will be enough to allow this surfer to be more successful. Another small change that can improve performance is if a surfer goes for their maneuver but they don't recenter effectively. And so you see here this surfer comes up, and instead of them pushing forward to a chest over front knee position, they land more on their heels and they fall backwards. This surfer here, when he does the turn, he hits it. As he's coming down, you can see that he lands, but also he lands and he pushes forward to the chest over front knee position. As they do it together, you can see one pushes forward. The one on the right pushes forward and is successful. The one on the left doesn't push forward, doesn't get into that chest over front knee position and falls backwards. So just a little change here from getting to there and then pushing forward to get your chest over front knee will help the surfer on the left be much more successful in that situation. Sometimes people get to the end of a wave and it's more the decision about the manoeuvre being performed that needs to be changed rather than the actual performance of the manoeuvre. But the decision of which manoeuvre to do has a huge bearing on what how successful the surfer is. So in this case here, the surfer on the left tried to do more of a floater manoeuvre in this situation, when what was needed was a lip line like the surfer on the right. And because the surfer on the left did a floater, they landed behind the explosion on the bottom and they were unsuccessful. The surfer on the right just stayed on the leading edge of the wave lip and landed in front of the explosion, and because of that they were successful. So the little change that needed to be here was to recognise that if you're faced with a sucky end section, that a lip line is the way to go. And if you make that change and recognise it, that small change and recognise it, then you'll be more successful in that situation. And this final example is where a surfer comes down and performs a manoeuvre that's more out on the face rather than in tight on the pocket. And the change that needs to be made here is the surfer comes down, and as they're doing their bottom turn, you can see that they're looking along the line. The change that needs to be done here, or made, small change, is as they come down and do the turn, you can see the surfer is looking more to the tightest part of the ride. And because of that, they're doing the manoeuvre right in the critical part of the wave, and that's all due to the fact that they decided to, as they come off the bottom, they're looking above their head rather than down the line. So a small change, but a significant change as far as where and how critical you perform your maneuvers. So if you're a surfer who wants to be a better surfer, just think about these small things, and if you have problems in surfing, it usually is the small changes that need to be made, and if you can make those small changes, your performance will improve rapidly.